Good morning. You're watching the Chucktown Wind Report Sunday morning update, and we're looking at this dome of high pressure toward northwest that is driving down the northerly winds as expected this morning. We're seeing some strong winds toward north, some moderate winds, moderate to strong winds starting to build to our coast now. We do see some rain activity. We have a little bit of drizzle, some passing sprinkles here and there along the coastline, but most of this moisture is in the upstate, upper level atmospheric moisture that is moving across Georgia into upstate South Carolina, as this low pressure along the northern Gulf states comes together and travels along this boundary. So our rain potentials are going to be increasing later today and into tonight as this low zooms in towards the area state by state and makes things a little bit messier as time goes on. So one thing about this low is as it tracks across northern Florida, we could see a coastal nor'easter develop off of the coastline of Georgia and South Carolina and then slide north up the Outer Banks and up towards the northeast. So we'll have to continue to watch that as it adds rain potentials for our area and keeps a northerly wind regime through the area through probably Tuesday and even into Wednesday. All right, so look at the rain potentials from the WPC NOAA, and we're looking at about 1 to 2 inches. Most of this, I believe, is going to be coming sometime this afternoon and into tonight. So they're including all the way through midnight tonight on this particular model. And then we're also see for the next 5 days as this low comes across northern Florida, our rain potentials increase. We're looking at 4, possibly 5 inches. I mean, this swath of rain goes all the way up the eastern seaboard through the southeast region, so it's something to definitely watch. Looking at the GRE on radar, here's our rains that are coming through the upstate. And you can see the low pressure coming together across the northern Gulf states and sliding just to the east-northeast, or just east along that boundary. If we look at the level 3 radar for our area, GRE level 3 radar, you can see some of these residual showers and sprinkles moving in off the ocean. It looks like it's going to dry out for a little bit and remain just cloudy. So we'll keep watching that as well. I did want to take a quick peek at the data scope from WeatherFlow now. We're showing 32 knots at Winyah Bay to our north. That's pretty significant because that means the gradient is very strong up in that area. And another feature that I thought was very interesting is how this was supposed to be more of a north-northeast to northeast flow, and we're already seeing an east-northeast flow develop at the Isle of Palms Pier. We see the winds jumping up 22 knots as a result of that onshore flow. Now, we talk about azimuths and angles of degree for onshore winds, and it's very important for southeast-facing beaches to have an onshore wind for those that use the beaches as a safety net, such as in kiteboarding. We have an east-northeast flow at 60 degrees. Our magic number for these beaches is 57 degrees. So any more than that, past 57 degrees, becomes an onshore flow. And we're seeing that at Isle of Palms now at 60 degrees, where it jumped up significantly by about 8 or 9 knots, and gusting even went up further than that, 10 to 12 knots. So we'll continue to watch it. We have Folly Beach's north end is showing 20 knots. And if we look at the National Data Buoy Center, I always like to look at these buoys sometimes because even though they only update once an hour, they do have 10-minute readings. Looks like the website is being a little finicky right now, but here we go for the Charleston. This is the North Folly Beach Station, view station page, and let's see what the 10-minute updates were doing the last time it reported. So it looks like a progressive build right here. If you look at continuous winds, looking at 6:10 a.m. at 19 knots and then building to 20 knots, 21 knots even by 6:40 to 7 o'clock a.m. So we'll continue to see these winds come up. All right, let's take a look at the tropics now. The National Hurricane Center has been giving an area to develop over northern Puerto Rico, north of Puerto Rico, north of Hispaniola. It looks like on visible satellite here in the last few frames, we're seeing a little bit of convective activity build just north of Hispaniola. So if we look at our infrared, see the cloud top starting to build. Looks like a low pressure is trying to develop just north of Hispaniola, trying to get some convection wrapped around the center. We look at the water vapor imagery. Here we go. You can see these cloud tops are trying to get something formed in this area. Now, this system is expected to drift to the northwest. However, we have a large regime of east to west flow going across the United States that will pull this system away from the coastline. So we're not expecting landfall. Could be a little bit of a wave maker, but it does have some dry air ahead of it and has just a little bit of an obstacle with some slight shear just ahead to the northwest. And then once it gets up just parallel of Orlando and Florida, it's going to get pulled away, probably get some upper level shear going and pulled away from the coastline. So let's take a look at Earth.nullscope. Well, I'm sorry, let's take a sea surface temperatures first. Now this area does show some warmer waters, especially on the Gulf Stream. We're showing about 80 to 82 degrees. And then we have some cooler pockets of water. With this northerly wind driving down from the north, this cool air and not so much support from a solid warm sea surface. It looks like this system, if it does develop, could be more of a cold core or subtropical storm, maybe even extratropical by the time it gets just parallel of middle Florida and starts to head off to the coast or head away from the coastline. So not so much support there for a strong system to develop, and it only has a very small window of time to develop. So I want to load the earth.nullschool.net. Let's see if this will load. Got a lot of programs going on here, so that means it's bogging down the computer. This is a pretty heavy-duty program to run in the background. And go. So here's our surface map for the earth.nullschool.net. We can see the high pressure ridge well out here in the Atlantic, drawing up a clockwise motion. Here's the boundary offshore. You can see those northerly winds diving down. Now, as we go up in the atmosphere, when you go up to 500 millibars, it's about 18,000 feet. You can see a better picture of what's going on across the country for guidance for this system. And we see in the middle of the country, just north of Texas, we have what's called a mid-level Rex block, where we have high pressure to the north, we have a wedge low pressure to the south of that, and what that has done is caused a split jet, or split in the jet stream, with the polar jet diving down from the North Great Lakes across the northern tier of the United States, and then we have a subtropical jet going east to west across the southern half of the United States. So all of this really means that whatever develops in the tropics and heads towards this area will probably get swept away out into the sea because of these mid to even upper level jets. And if we go up even higher to 250 millibars, we'll see this is about 34 to 36,000 feet. We'll see a very strong jet. And you can see these winds probably 100 to 120 knots just ripping across the eastern portion of the United States, and that will drive whatever comes up this way. It'll pull it right out to sea. So not expecting anything there. So with that said, I am going to be going kiting this morning, so you all have a wonderful day. Thanks for watching.